Today I'm joined by Congressman Jack Bergman, who represents Michigan's 1st District. And Congressman, thanks so much for chatting with me today. And I know just moments ago, the SULOC Security and Economic Reporting Act passed in the House. So can you explain what exactly will that legislation do?
Well, what it does, it provides money for a study to make sure that we're getting the security right going forward with the SULOCs. Congressman James from the Detroit area proposed it. It was his bill. And when you think about the magnitude of the SULOCs project over a long period of time, and you also think about the changing threat that we have, because you're on an international border and you're on an international waterway there in the Sioux, Congressman James' bill really does the right thing to put some money into a study that ensures that we've got the cybersecurity and all the other things that you would consider security right. So the timing is good because we're still in the middle, if you will, of the LOCKS project.
So going off of that, and you kind of touched on this, but why is this legislation important not just for Michigan, but for the entire country?
Well, bottom line is if the SULOC shuts for whatever reason, and we can't get the taconite pellets and whatever else is coming through that lock to the industrial plants in Ohio, Indiana, Texas, pick your place that takes that product and turns it into end products. Basically, we have a major impact on the economy, to include over a 6-month period. If it was shut for 6 months, it would mean 11 million jobs that would be lost because of shutdown production, because the SULOC couldn't be used to transit the raw goods that we do.
Wow. So are you confident that this legislation will pass in the Senate?
I am. It's common sense, and because it's money that is really looking for more information in study form, then that enables the Senate to get behind it, I think, easier. It's not a contentious, it's a good bipartisan bill.
Sure. And then the new SULOC project just received some additional funding. Why is that important?
Well, unfortunately, the Army Corps of Engineers a couple of years ago underestimated the total cost of the project by a couple of $2 billion, and that's big money. So we've gotten it back on track now for the funding, and we could have, according to the Army Corps of Engineers this year, they had the capacity to actually do over $600 million of construction this year, but unfortunately the president's budget that came out from the White House a few months ago didn't request that much. So there was a disconnect between the administration and whoever their budgeteers are, because they should have had an extra $600 million there coming out the president's budget, because the Army Corps is ready to execute that money in the year, in the if you will, the year of execution. I know I'm using the word twice here, but there was a disconnect, and the White House unfortunately could have done a lot better in getting more money so the Army Corps could actually do all of the work it said it could do.
And kind of switching gears here, recently the House passed the Federal Aviation Administration Reauthorization Bill, and you spoke in opposition to an amendment to that bill that is designed to eliminate the Essential Air Service. Why are you opposed to that? Well,
when you think about all the airports that I have in my district that are only there because of the Essential Air Service, it was a bad decision for the people of the 1st District of Michigan, but it was a bad decision for people in rural parts of the country around, because without that Essential Air Service funding, those rural and remote areas are not going to have any air travel for their constituents. So I voted for my constituents to say, no, we need that Essential Air Service funding, whether it be in the UP or below the bridge. We need that to all of our airports who get 1 or 2 flights a day, so that our constituents don't have to drive 4, 5, 6, 7 hours to a major airport to catch a flight. So it was just, again, it was common sense to keep a program that is actually working.
And the House also recently passed the National Defense Authorization Act. How will this impact Michiganders?
Well, number one, we have quite a bit of defense-based companies, whether it's tier 1, 2, or 3 suppliers in the defense industry. So the robust NDAA this year is going to guarantee jobs. It's going to guarantee supply chain, whether it be the folks in Michigan who actually work on those products, but it's also going to guarantee that our national defense, through everything from the pay raise that we gave the troops to the guaranteed again supply chain and the predictability for the companies, the small companies especially, to be able to do their business. And it's a win-win. And while we would like to not have to spend as much money on defense as we do in some cases, it's the right thing to do for the safety and security of all of our citizens, because unfortunately we live in a world that has some serious threats. China being one, Russia being another, and Iran being a third.
And is there anything else that you're working on right now that you want people to know about?
Well, we're working on some legislation that we just had markup in Veterans Affairs Committee today that's going to provide better, shall we say, longer-term care for veterans, especially when it comes to end of life. Being able to, it's the Elizabeth Dole Act, if anybody wants to look it up, but it's going to enable veterans to spend their final days in the comfort of their loved ones and not have to worry about out-of-pocket expenses. That's just one example. Another example on Veterans Affairs is holding the Veterans Administration accountable and giving the Secretary of the Veterans Administration the ability to actually fire bad actors. So those are a couple of things we're working on.
And I'm sure that hits home for you, considering you are a veteran.
Well, you know, I've always been proud to serve, whether it's in uniform or a suit, but it's such an honor to serve those men and women who, in some cases, have given the full measure, have come home wounded, and those who just come back and they just want to raise a family and have a job. I work for all of them and I do everything I can to make sure that the benefits that they've earned will come to them in a timely manner.
Well, is there anything else that you want to say before I let you go?
Not really. We're busy here in D.C. We've got some appropriations legislation here that we're going to do in the next couple of days, and then I'm going to be back in the district, in and out during the month of August, and depending on where you are in the northern part of Michigan, you'll probably see me around at everything from the UP State Fair to somewhere over in the Petoskey area to Alpena. I'll be all over the place just saying hello to folks and finding out what's going on in the district.
So we'll keep an eye out for you.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you so much, Congressman, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for what you do.
Of course. Take care.